All right. So once again, hi Mabel. Thank you for joining this interview. I'll just give a brief run through on what the docu-series is. So the docu-series is something SLA put together for us to be able to communicate the experiences of women who are already building something in their career and be able to share that experience with aspiring professionals or business owners. Because we have several categories of people in our community, and we want to be able to um, build a bridge between aspiring professionals and people who have already built something to let them know that although the road is not easy, but people have done it and they can also do it. So that is the basic line for the docu-series, and we appreciate you honoring this interview. And if you don't mind, you could maybe just do a brief introduction of yourself, and then we can go straight to the questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. My name is Mabel Adeteye. I'm currently the head of brands and marketing communications at Bueno Bank.
Mhm.
My journey in the professional space cuts across strategy communications, public relations, um, crisis management, media engagement and management, digital marketing,
Mhm.
branding, um, communications in general. So when you talk about 360 communication, that's what I do. And that is what I've done over the years, having both the agency and client side
Mhm.
background in terms of my experience. And that's who I am in a nutshell.
All right, nice to meet you, Mabel. And usually I like to start my interview questions with a little backstory. I mean, from your bio, you've built your career over the past 16 years. So take us back to how this all started, how you got into the communication space, what your first steps in, the communications and PR space was like, the beginning in general.
Okay. Yes, I have over 16 years experience in this space. But it's actually more than 16 years. But I
Okay.
just capitalize on 16 years because that is the if I look back, that is the year that I can truly see that I began to own in terms of the direction as to this field, what I want to do. I've worked in communication. I've done communication roles across different areas in the communication space.
Mhm.
So how it started, what my journey has been like. I've always loved to communicate. Yes, we all communicate, but I've always had this thing of wanting to build something, wanting to give something life, wanting to create something and seeing it grow, wanting to be able to bring in different elements in an organization together and give it meaning and use it to showcase an individual or a brand or something. So that all the desire to want to create, bring elements together and make it form something meaningful.
Mhm.
And and I think that was what drew me to communication. I remember school days when you have elective and you have core courses, and then you'll be
Yeah.
asked to choose what area. I mean, if you study mass communication, what area of mass communication you want to go into. And a lot of people were on TV broadcast. So you have TV, you have broadcast, you have print, you have PR, you have advertising. And I remember that for me, focus was just two. It was advertising and public relations. Then a lot of people were asking me, I mean, public relations in school, I mean, the school, university days, didn't have meaning. I mean, it was just writing, it was just the press releases. It wasn't something that is that attractive compared to the TV, wanting to appear on TV. So, but I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to be in a space where I can create something. I didn't want you to just give me a script and ask me to begin to read. I wanted to create it myself. I wanted to be able to say, this is what to say, this is how to say, this is what to do, this is how I wanted to be able to create meanings out of things. So that gave birth to, I mean, me wanting to do PR. I remember that creating copies, writing, content creation, coming up with ideas. That's were the things. I mean, those were the things that I started with, and my very first step. That is the days that I would tag the getting your hands dirty days. Um, being able to, I mean, do the work that some people didn't want to do. I mean, do the work that you were either the last person in the office to ensure that tidy up all of the things, the report is ready, putting all the dotted lines, ensuring that you give meaning to things,
Mhm.
ensuring that um, you are thinking of ideas. What can I bring up tomorrow? What can I create tomorrow? I just came back from a meeting from a client service meeting, and the client said there's those that thing is going to happen 1 month's time, but I'm already thinking of what if they come tomorrow, what if they ask me. So that my beginning is what I tag the dirty, getting my hands dirty. I did a
Mhm.
lot. I did a lot, from writing to ideation to strategy to event to media to to a lot. And today I am proud of that beginning
Mhm.
because those years were the years that people were not looking at you.
Yeah. You were saying something about getting your hands dirty and all that. So while we'll just continue from there, I want to ask my second question so you can merge both together because you did mention something about, your days in school, how it was and all that. So, I mean, I noticed that you have a lot of accreditations as well, and then your academic history and everything. So, how much of your success so far and experience would you attribute to both formal education and your real life experience on the job? So,
Okay, so like I said earlier, that my early days is what I tag the getting your hands dirty, getting to
mhm,
do so much, getting to put all of the, getting to ask the questions, getting to
mhm,
learn, getting to really, really do a lot of work together, um, without any pressure. Um, the question around how much of my, should I say, my growth or the success will I attribute to classroom and the experience? They are two separate things, and you cannot take away the role of education, the classroom, from the experience. But again, you need to understand that irrespective of um, the classroom learnings, the experience is very, very, very important in driving you to wherever you want to go to or wherever you want to be. And why did I say that? There is a place for education. Absolutely. You need
mhm,
to be grounded. You need to have the foundation. You need to learn. I have a lot of courses that I'm doing even presently, uh, outside the ones that I've done. But where you need to really show experience, you can't take that away from the job that we do. And I sometimes, I mean, a lot of times I tell people that even if you go to school today to learn what I have learned, you can't do it the way I would do it. The experience has taught me what to do when, how to do what. I mean, the number of years that I've spent
mhm,
doing the same thing over and over and over again. I tell people that with my background in mass communication, from my early days starting my career, I started in this field and I have grown doing the same thing over the years, learning as I grow, imputing a lot of learnings. I remember when PR, I mean, those days, PR used to be around just writing. It was used to be just around media. And then we grew to digital PR, we grew to crisis management, we grew to stakeholder engagement, we grew into different things. So as the world is changing, as new communication tools are coming up, as consumer behavior is changing, a lot of the things would also need to change. And that you can only know how to adapt, how to do it without with your experience. If there is no experience, ask me in any field. I've done almost all the industry, technology, aviation, banking, telco, FMCG, hospitality, health. What is the experience that I've had managing those brands, working with them, understanding their industry, understanding their regulators, understanding the consumer, understanding their customer, how they want to be engaged, what drives them, what their behavior is like. And that is what I have used over time to adapt into what I put out there in terms of the strategy, the initiatives that I come up with, the campaigns that I roll out, how to manage brands, how to drive visibility, how to drive engagement. So there is a place for education. There is also a place for the experience, and they are very, very crucial and important in your journey. But irrespective of your educational background, irrespective of the certificates that you have, you cannot take away the experience. The experience is where you truly would learn, because with experience you can put things into practice. With experience you can go back, review what worked, what didn't work. With experience, when you meet the same, should I say, situation or the same thing over and over again, you know how to adapt to it, you know what to do. But I suppose just reading the book, and that's not the way communication actually works.
All right. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate, that answer, because I mean, everybody understands this, that experience is key in whatever you want to do in your career, building your career. It is good to know the theories and all, but getting your hands dirty, like you said, that really does it for everyone. But now you mentioned something about crisis management. So let's come down to that part, because I mean, communicating the struggles and how you were able to overcome those struggles is part of what we want to communicate to businesses, right? To aspiring professionals. So as much as you have managed crisis for organizations, personally, in the process of building your career, what are those, crisis moments that you've had or encountered, and how did you overcome those moments, the struggles, the downtimes, and all that?
Uh, that's a very tricky question. Crisis. I mean, both personally and professionally. I mean, the work that we do has a lot of crisis management in it. I tell people that if you haven't managed tough crisis, you can't say that you are truly a PR professional. In the crisis moment is when you know a true PR person. But personally, if there's one that I can remember, would be when I was going on maternity leave at some point in my career. And I remember that, and it was, again, why I'm sharing this, because it's also something that I want people to learn from. When I was going on one of my maternity leaves, and there was a conversation around, will I meet my job when I return? My response then was that, why won't I meet my job? You can't do it as much as you can't do it the way I would do it. So even if I go on maternity leave, there's somebody standing in for me, there's somebody in doing you cannot do it the way that I would do it. And I say this to people that a lot of people can do what I do. A lot of people can do what you do. There is nobody that is indispensable. But what makes the difference is that they can do it like you. So they can do your work, but not like you do, because we have all been created with our uniqueness. Give us the same thing to do. You cannot do it like Mabel would do it. And it's now left for the individual to pick if it's the good side or the bad side in terms of the quality of work that you bring to the table. So I remember saying then that I'm not bothered. I'm not. You cannot do it the way I have been doing it and the way that I will do it. And fast forward, went to maternity leave, a lot of calls, a lot of conversations, and I finished my maternity leave and I came back to work. When I came back to work, I remember that there was a conversation around maybe, did you go fire up again during maternity leave? You came back, you're giving us even way more than what we used to know about you before. And I remember telling people then that, see, you are who you are, and you are who you think you are. But before then, there must be something that speaks for you. And what is that? For me is the way that I will do my job. I will do it the way that Mabel would do it. So even when Mabel isn't in the room, you are able to tell the gap. You are able to see what Mabel brings on the table and what another person brings on the table. And that I was able to use to manage what we might think it's crisis, but it was a big deal. It was a big deal because I wasn't the only person that went on maternity leave at that point. But I can say that if you count one or two or three, I am one of the people who actually retained their job when they came back, and it was a testament to the fact that I am going to do this job. I have always done this job well, and the results, the work will speak for itself. So even you go on maternity leave, you're not around, the work should be able to speak for itself.
Thank you very much. And I think one key thing I'm picking out from this part is how, you went for your leave and then came back and people are asking if you went to fire up. It just shows self-improvement is key. I mean, you need to be able to improve on yourself as you continue in your career, as you go. You cannot be on the same spot, all through. But then coming down to another question, I mean, we are women focused. We are a women focused organization. So we like to come down to relate to women a lot. And it's good that you mentioned the going on maternity leave and what that experience brought up, the kind of questions that you had. But no doubt, I mean, based on your previous answer, that you always show people that you are good at what you do and you always deliver, right? But as a woman, sitting in boardrooms, planning strategies and all, have you ever had any situation where people doubted your skill because they felt, oh, she's a woman, that kind of thing? Definitely, you obviously showed them that you're good at what you do, and the doubts definitely left. But did you ever have any kind of experience like that where you had to maybe work 2 times to prove that you deserve to be in this room?
I tell people that any room that I sit in, I deserve to be in that room. Any room that I sit in, I deserve to be in the room, not because of my gender. I think it's very important that as women, we don't, should I say, carry that, or I must get this because I am gender A, I am gender B, because I'm a woman, because I'm a man. It is that whatever it is that you feel that you deserve it because you deserve to have it. You deserve it because of what you bring to the table, irrespective of your gender. So for me, as I sit in a room, I sit in boardroom, I sit in meetings, it's because I am needed. It is because there is something I have to add to the conversation. If you look at me every time that I'm in a room because of my gender, then I'm not occupying anything. And that's because the conversation that is being discussed there, a lot of conversations in the boardroom, in meeting, in strategic communication, isn't about the gender, isn't about it must be a woman that will say this, it must be a man that will say this. It is the contribution that you bring to the table. So I tell my gender that, please, stay in a room, sit in a room, and know that you truly deserve to be there. And that is what matter. And that is how you can own your space. That is how you can showcase the expertise, the quality of work that you bring to the table. I think we need to leave this whole conversation of seeing a woman because of her gender, to say that, oh, I just need a woman to fill in the space. What will
Mm-hmm.
happen is there won't be any meaningful impact that you bring to the table. I want to sit in that room. I want to be on that chair because I am needed for the quality of work, for what I am bringing to the table, and not because of my gender. I think when we look at it from a gender perspective alone, it gives some biases of you not really giving me what I truly deserve. You not
Yeah.
really looking at me in totality, in
Mm-hmm.
saying that I actually deserve to be in this room. I actually deserve to be in this room because I have something meaningful to contribute. I
Yeah.
don't want a conversation around gender. Yes, you can see that I'm a woman, and that's enough. But then I am in the room because there is quality in what I have to deliver. I am in the room because my expertise is
Mm-hmm.
needed. I
Mm-hmm.
am in the room because I have value to bring on board. I am in the room because there's no other person can do it as much as I would do it. I am in the room because you need me to be able to
Yeah.
contribute to that conversation and to that strategy. And that is it for me. And that is what I have been able to walk around. And that is how I've been able to navigate the boardroom conversation,
Mm-hmm.
the engagement that I have had in my own career.
Thank you very much. And I really, really appreciate it. I'm in the room because I am good at what I do. I mean, nobody can do it better than I can. You know, that kind of thing, that kind of mindset, it really helps you go far in career. And I really appreciate that. But still on the boardroom conversation, but, a different question to that. You've, chaired a lot of committees where you're planning strategies and all. Is there a specific thing in the PR space? I mean, like you said, you've been doing this from the beginning. It has always been your interest. So is there a specific, gap that you want to fill being in this space? And how would you say you are doing so far?
Um, I just, not to how do I put it? Um, if I look at my space, remember that I said earlier that what PR used to be before and what how PR has um, um, how it has grown over the years and what we do presently. For all of the committees that I've chaired, for all of the conferences, for all of the local and international committees that I've chaired, in my space, in the communication space. What I bring on board is the expertise in driving the objective for the organization, for the committee, for the conference. One thing I ask carefully when I sit on committees and conferences is, what is the objective? I mean, for every time you sit on those things, there is always one or two or three things that the organization, the committee is trying to do better than what they did in the previous years. And for me, is I own that thing. I don't want to, it's not a traditional way of doing things. No, and nobody says that something can be better. Nobody says that what we did before isn't good. It is good. It was good. It was good at that particular time, and it worked very well. But as we grow, as the world evolves, right, people also need to add more. A lot of things we need to change. And for me, is when I carefully get that message from whatever committee I sit on or I chair, is
Mhm.
that I ensure that that is my focus. And for a lot of the committees that I've chaired, if you look at it, I remember when I chaired Wimby's comms committee, conference committee, about 2 years now, almost 2 years now. We had the the largest delegates the largest delegates in the history. And thanks to communication, a lot of people, and I remember also in the room on the conference day, there were interviews that we conducted. People were saying that them coming for that conference was the first time. So again, we tried to judge the the percentage of returning and new. So returning can be that I've always been coming and I know that I would come. And then we looked at the number of new delegates that came for the conference, and it was amazing. Thanks to communication, thanks to a lot of people that I work with, thanks to the committee. And for me, that's satisfying. That is showing that, I mean, we got the brief and we were able to drive impact. I tell people that what drives me is impact. To say that even if it is one or two or three things, I must be able to leave a mark to say that I contributed this. Yes, we want the communication to pass the right messaging. We want it to be smooth. We want timeliness in terms of communication. We want creative that speaks to what we want. We want it to be rich. But again, in driving the bottom line, how is this impact? And we were able to see. I remember again chairing, my committee and CIPR. For me, it was more of influence. It was more of inclusion to say that how do we drive this in the Nigerian market? And we were able to achieve that. I mean, I sat in the committee for 4 years, and we were able to achieve that over that 4 years, and it's still growing. So for me, it's for whatever committees that I chair or that I sit in as committee members is get the brief and ensure that you drive impact that you cannot forget overnight, and that I have been able, and it gives me great pleasure and joy when I see those things translate to an impactful result for the organization.
Thank you very much. But then there's now another aspect to that question, right? I mean, we've talked about the impact when you sit, in boardrooms, chairing professionally. How about overall now, when it comes to, personal life beyond the professional life, your impact? What is that one thing that you would say you want to be known for? That one area in life generally that you are very, interested in, concerned about, and you would like to say you made an impact in this space.
For me, and thank you so much for that question. If you read up on a lot of things that I've written about my conversation, you see that I'm very keen on impact. Very, very key on impact on the job, and the impact on the lives of people that work with me, that I meet on my journey. For me, is I want to leave that impact of building talent, of building people. Today, I look at my journey and I look at people who have worked with me. I looked at how we started, and I look at where they are in the space today, and I'm excited. I'm excited because you can't work with me, I can't journey with you, and I would leave you the way you started your career. Never. So for me, is that anybody and everybody that I meet in my journey is living, creating that talent that even as an individual, you will be proud of yourself. When I work with people these days, when I work with young professionals across all of the areas and communications, content creation, designs, branding, event, PR, sometimes I sit back with them after we run campaigns, initiatives, and I ask, sometimes I look at what the initial conversation or the initial strategy or the initial idea was vis-a-vis what we finally landed on. And I ask questions that, how proud are you with what you have delivered? So for me, is that joy of building talent, helping individuals, ensuring that I nurture them and bring out the best in them, work with them, that creating a better version of me, another version of me that I sit back and I look at the talents, the people who have worked with me, and I say that I'm proud of your journey. And they are also proud of what they bring to the table. That is satisfying. That is it's one thing that I'm proud of. And I have a lot of that, a lot of people like that in the industry today that you work with me, you journey with me. You and I work on projects, we work on campaigns, we work on initiatives, we work on activities, we work on things, designs, content, production, work on anything, and you will see the gap. You will see the what the impact is to yourself, not impact to me alone, not even impact to me, is impact to you to say, how have I been able to scale in my career? How have I been able to scale in my experience? How have I been able to scale in the way that I used to do things? And I'm proud of what I can do now. That is satisfying for me. And that is one thing that I want to leave behind.
Thank you very much. And just to continue that question to my final question, what is your one advice to young professionals that are building?
So for young professionals, and I'm going to speak this from my own journey, from my own experience, one is be committed to the journey. Commitment is very key. I know that the world is moving very fast these days. I know that the desire to grow, the desire to move up, I mean, it's there. But please, commitment to the journey is very important. And how do you stay committed to the journey is you knowing where you want to go to, what you want to become, how you want your career to grow. And as you do that, understand that you cannot replace learning. You cannot replace the foundation, being grounded in your area of expertise. You cannot take it away. So because I know that a lot, I mean, because of the zeal, because of we wanting to grow, sometimes we look we take a step backward with that. Remember when I said something about doing the work, getting your hands dirty?
Yeah.
For young professionals, is please, you cannot replace that because at some point in your career, that will be tested. So these days, when I have conversations with mentees, and I say that what you know, nobody can take it away from you, and there is always a time for learning. It's even better when you're learning when nobody's looking at you. You're not under pressure. You're learning, you're growing, you're doing a lot of things, you're schooling, you are gaining experience, you're volunteering. Nobody's asking you for those things. There's no demand. It's you putting pressure on yourself. And that you can control, that you can manage. So
Yeah.
that point, it is very that stage in your career is very, very important. Be committed to it, invest in it, learn. You cannot you can't skip it. You cannot, because you get to a point in your career that all of those things will need to be put into practice.
Yeah.
And at that time, trust me, a lot of people are watching you. A lot of people. That is not the time to begin to say you're learning this, you're learning that. Sometimes when I tell people that you don't wait for crisis to happen before you begin to practice what you will do if the crisis happens. So in the day it happens, you already know how to manage or what to do. Some people just stay back and wait until they give me the brief, until I find myself in this conversation before I begin to prepare. So please be committed to the journey, learn, invest in your foundation, invest in that learning. Please get your hands dirty, do as much as you can do when nobody is asking you. Volunteer as much as you can, learn, grow, do the work even when nobody is asking you, because you know what, the day they will be asking you, that is not the time to begin to learn. That is the time to show what you have learned over the years, how you've grown, and then put it into practice.
Thank you very, very much for that. But I want to do like a quick balance between that. I mean, I get the whole idea of learning before the opportunity comes, but how do you now balance that with learning on the job? I mean, I expect that you've been investing in yourself, but then when something comes and it looks like this is beyond what you can do, how do you now balance the part of you preparing beforehand with learning on the job?
So I tell people that no, should I say, no experience is is wasted. No experience is a waste. No experience. And I'll give a practical example. Um, before I when I was on the agency side,
Mm-hmm.
I remember that the way the structure would be, would have people who would write, you have people who would do this, and I remember clearly then I told them that I want to be writing my stuff. I'm not saying that I won't pass my writing to the department or the unit that is meant to review the writing and deploy, right? But I want to write my content. I
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to grow in this space. And I was doing that. I was doing that when nobody was asking me that. And I
Yeah.
remember that I would do it. I would send it to the guys and say, maybe you've helped us with half of our work is done, blah, blah, blah. And then I was growing as I was doing that. A lot of the things that I learned on this job, I learned it when there was no pressure asking me
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Right. And that doesn't take away the space of learning on the job. Learning on the job becomes easier. Learning on the job becomes better because you have an idea.
Yeah.
Compare it to being clueless.
Mm.
Compare it to and because we are in a world that is very fast now, we're in the world where demand is very high. We're in the world where you need to be able to do two, three, four, five things together. You need to
Yeah.
be able to
Multitask.
review. I mean, not even in this artificial intelligence age, where a lot of things are seeming the same. They look the same.
Yeah.
What makes it different is the experience. What makes it different is your expertise. Because
Yeah.
if not, what you will be seeing is the same thing will be churned out every
Mm-hmm.
single time. So
Mm-hmm.
your experience on the job, the learning on the job is fantastic. It's great. It's good. But when you have been able to gather that knowledge about something, so when you meet it, you are able to adapt. You
Mm.
even know the right questions, the kind of questions to ask. You know, there's a lot of times when we talk about being able to ask the right questions. So asking the right questions, and even when responses are given, you automatically know, I mean, you know where to fit it in. And then when you meet some situation, you have an idea what to do. And that is because you've been practicing. You cannot take away the impact of practicing and the impact of learning on the job. It becomes better, it becomes efficient
Mm-hmm.
when you marry those things together.
Yeah.
Not that I just want to come into the office today. It is what they have given me to do that I want to do. What are you doing in taking that brief a step higher? Your boss, your colleague asked you to write. I'm just saying, asked you to plan the same campaign we did last year. They're not asking for so. They said, "Oh, what you did last year was fantastic. Can we have something like that?" They are saying that because maybe they don't know that there are even better ways of doing it, right? They don't that say, and that shouldn't confine you in a space of saying, I want to repeat the same thing. I'm
Mm.
not saying that what you did last year isn't good. Yes, fantastic. And I'm not saying that it's not relevant again. But what is that one, two, three, four, five things that can be added to it to make it better, to make it resonate and fit for purpose in this present age and time, for the
Mm-hmm.
audience in the room, for the conversation that is going to happen. So a lot of those things needs to come together for you to be able to give an holistic, should I say, a campaign strategy that really connects, that truly connects and drive impactful result.
Thank you very much for doing that wonderful balance between both. Really, really appreciate your time. And I know I said the previous question was my last question, and then I still added one more. Sorry about that. And thank you.
It's fine.
Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate you getting on this interview. I personally have learned. I mean, I don't have 16 years of experience, so this was a good learning one for me, especially because I'm also in that comms space. So this was a very good conversation to have. Really appreciate your time, and it was lovely meeting you on this call. Thank you, thank you, thank you so, so much. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much for having me. Thank you. I truly appreciate the conversation. Always a pleasure anytime I'm invited to talk about my space. I mean, I love what I do.
Yeah.
I love I love communication. I love brand. I love PR. I love it. I love it. So for me, it's it's always a pleasure having conversation in this space. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much.